Well, this afternoon we have the privilege of having our brother Pablo Landazuri from Ecuador with us. Very excited to have you on today. Welcome.
Thank you, Rich. Very excited to be here with you.
Yeah. Let's just begin, Pablo, with just a little bit of your background. Maybe tell us a little bit about Ecuador, what the country is like, what the city is like that you're in, the capital city of Quito.
Yes. Well, regarding myself, I was born here, raised here, later lived for 5 years in US doing different things. I went to seminary there too, at Mid-America Reformed Seminary. Grew up in a family, typical Latin American family, Roman Catholic, but kind of secular, really. Went to a Franciscan school during my elementary years. Basically, I was taught salvation based by works, really. We know that's not the official teaching of the Roman Catholic Church necessarily, but that's kind of how it is here. I think mainly in all Latin America. And I came to the faith when I was about 27 years old through the ministry of a Presbyterian pastor who's Reverend Donoso, with whom I work now at Luz de Vida. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm married to Berenice, which is the Spanish for Bernice. Yeah. 3 children, Martin, Emilio, and Benjamin.
Okay, how old are
they? Martin is 19, Emilio is 16, and Benjamin is 12.
Okay, so you got a busy household.
Oh yes, oh yes. They're getting older, so a little bit more independent. But yeah, very busy. Regarding Quito, you were asking.
Yes.
Quito is the capital of the country. The country has about a little bit over 17 million people. It's a small country, but we have a few million people living here. Quito is the capital of the country. It became the largest city just recently. Guayaquil, which is having a lot of issues with COVID-19 right now, used to be the largest. It is a port next to the Pacific Ocean. But anyway, recently Quito outgrew Guayaquil. So right now we are 3 million people if you include the districts, everything around the city. So that's where we're serving right now. Quito tends to be, being a capital, tends to be a more modern city than the rest of the country.
When I visited, I was surprised at how modern the city was. I was amazed. Very vibrant. But certainly it was different than I imagined. But yeah, I guess like a lot of other Latin American countries, the capital is a really neat place and very modern.
Yes, that's right. This Latin America has a lot of contrasts, and some cities kind of accumulate prosperity and things like that. If you go outside Quito and Guayaquil and maybe 2 or 3 more cities, then you'll start to see a different picture. Rural areas tend to be much poorer and face other issues. Then again, here in the city, you can see everything. It has become very diverse, and tourism and people coming from everywhere makes it a very interesting, diverse place, I would say. People are also amazed about the weather. They think Ecuador, and they think it would be hot here,
Yeah.
And because of the altitude, we're right on the Andes. Quito tends to have a, low, well, not low like in other places, but lower than, for example, the coast. I think the average temperature here is 15 degrees Celsius. That would be 55 Fahrenheit, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very good. You've been ministering in Quito for how many years now?
It would be 6 in June. So
Okay. Wow.
6 years. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe tell us a little bit about your church, the situation you're working, size of the church, that sort of thing.
Yes. So the church is called Luz de Vida. We've been blessed. I think the interesting thing about the church is that it represents where we are at, where we serve. It's very middle class Quito people,
Okay.
We're located right in the middle of the north of the city. It's a very long city, so divided in north, central area, and south area. We're in the north, kind of in the center of the north. And it basically represents the average Quito people, I think. We've been blessed with good rate of growth, which has been even surprising for us. When I arrived here 6 years ago, there was a small group, about something close to 20 people, or maybe even less than that. And little by little, we've had a steady kind of growth curve. Right now, well, before this COVID thing and the fact that we have to stay at home, we were receiving something close to 100 people, a little bit over that, attending our morning service. The evening service, always, like everywhere, tends to have or receive lesser number of people. But in our morning services are well attended, and we have something close to 80 members.
Okay.
Right now. So
what are some of the ways that other than your services, that some of the activities that you're involved with, ways that you're reaching out?
Yes, that's a very, very interesting. Well, what has happened here is very interesting. We've tried many ways. We have Wednesday Bible study, and we offer a basic course and a membership course. The basic course has become very much evangelistic, let's say. So we use that a lot, and helps us a lot. Not only to teach basic doctrine, but just to get to know the people. And I always tell the people, you're not committing to anything. We just want to let you know who we are, right? And and what we teach and what we believe. We've had dinners, offered to the neighborhood. We've invited the whole neighborhood and offered dinners, and then have a little kind of gospel preaching. Sadly, that has not worked well in terms of numbers, let's say. We haven't had anyone convinced in that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we've also tried just inviting people from church, for a Christmas, for our Christmas program, for example. We ask people to bring friends, family, things like that, and we try to engage with them. And yeah, we also for a while tried, we formed a Scouts group for the youth.
Oh.
And we were able to connect with one family, or reach out one family that are now members of the church. Sadly, because of the lack of a leadership group, we couldn't keep it going, but that's something that we were planning to take up again during this summer. Sadly, this thing again happened with the virus, but that's something that we want to keep trying. But let me tell you this, what has worked best really in our context, it's been very organic.
Yeah.
The congregation really is committed to just be a witness in word and deed, wherever they are, in their jobs, in their family, and
And
all their activities.
Those are the best kind of contacts, people trusting people and seeing the gospel at work.
Exactly. I mean, there's that, and you said that word is very important, is key, trust. People really want to try what, speaking humanly, right? Because we know it is the Holy Spirit that does the job. But
let me ask you about the church plant. You began with another group. Just if you could explain that to us real quickly, that's really kind of a neat story.
Yeah, basically what we did is we had a few families that were living in a valley close by to the city, 30-minute drive from from the place where our current church is in Quito. So we decided to kind of start something there. So we started with a Bible study on Sundays with these 5 families. And again, little by little, these families started just bringing friends, inviting family. We rented a very, very small place. I don't think it was it was just a room with one restroom. So it wasn't really anything too exciting. We just placed a sign there and we started just preaching there, and people started bringing friends and family, and little by little, after a little bit over a year, I think, we ended up having over 30 people attending that group. Okay. Sadly, my partner, Reverend Donoso, retired. He's an older man, so he retired, and so we ended up having just one minister, which is myself. And so we asked the people to, if they would consider just joining the church in Quito because of what had happened. And they all agreed. They all are members of the church in Quito. And so that also brought a lot of growth. Those 40 people actually ended up joining the church in Quito. So basically what we have now is both groups in Quito. They do have to drive for 30 minutes on Sundays, but that has worked well.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Just wondering, the situation with COVID-19, we've seen a lot here in Canada about what's going on in Guayaquil. Maybe you could explain that, how it's affected yourself and perhaps the coastal city.
Yeah. Well, thankfully here in Quito, cases are not as many. Numbers, from what we call the Registro Civil, which is the office that counts everybody that is born or dies,
Right. Yep.
The guys that give you your ID here. Basically, the average people, the number or the average number of people that have deceased monthly has been, it's in the average, in the monthly average. So we haven't had as many cases here, a few thousand, but it is a big city, 3 million people. But Guayaquil is just, it's I think one of the worst situations in the world. They have 10,000 people dead in the month of April. They had an average of 1,000, 1,200, something like that every month. It went up to 10,000 in April.
Wow.
And
that is really sad.
It is very sad. Of course, it's part, I would guess, is the virus, maybe some other things, One big thing is the infrastructure is not enough. So very quickly, hospitals got crowded and many people were not able to get attention, and, people dying in their homes and all these things. To this point, no one knows exactly why this happened, why so the numbers are so high in Guayaquil, but it is tough. We have a couple of friends there. I have a couple of friends there in the ministry, and I've talked to them, and thankfully they're fine. I know one guy that contracted the virus, but thankfully he's fine now. What is very, very difficult is the economic situation. That is maybe even worse than the virus itself. The economy is suffering a lot. Many people are losing their jobs. Companies are not being able to survive. Schools, especially those who are teachers, many of them are just not being paid or just asked to, stop working. So that is one very big concern for us. We're hoping to find a way to be able to go out and, have the country moving and producing, because it's tough. The economic situation is going to be very tough.
What percentage of your GDP, do you know how much tourism is a part of that? What percentage it is?
I don't know exactly, but it is not as big as in other Latin American countries. Okay. It doesn't play a huge role. It is important, but not as big. We basically depend on oil. Oil is our largest, export industry. So, but the oil price went just down.
Terrible, yeah. Canada too, very affected.
Yes, so that's very bad. There's another component into this problem, is that the previous government got, indebted in a huge way. And in many ways, our oil was already committed to pay those loans and things like that. So we were basically not receiving too many dollars because of the oil, and so it is very complicated. Besides that, our currency is US dollars, which has been a blessing because we cannot print money just like that, like some governments do, and create an inflation. But we depend on our exports, and so that the exports and the US dollars that comes to the country. So that's complicated. The government is trying to get more money, getting more debt to fund the budget, and so it is a complicated scenario, I think.
Yeah, we'll need to remember you guys in prayer, especially about that.
Yes, please.
Are there any specific prayer requests that you have, Pablo, for our churches that you'd like to mention?
Yes, like you said, the first thing, it would be the economic situation. We're trying, the church has been here, the brothers and sisters here in Luz de Vida are trying to be, generous and trying to show mercy to our brothers and sisters that are having a tough time. So pray for that, for the economic situation. Also, we have a few brothers and sisters that are emotionally, starting to feel affected because of the, is it lockdown? You call it lockdown, right?
Lockdown, yeah.
Yeah. Some people struggling with a little bit of anxiety and things like that. I try to call, our whole consistory here tries to be, in touch with their brothers and sisters. And I've noticed in the this week and previous week, people are starting to feel a little bit tense, and people are starting to feel sick. And it's because it appears their immunity system is kind of dropping. I don't know. So many things. So emotions are starting to get, a little bit
affected,
complicated, affected. So that would be another prayer request. And then, we also try to see, to the future and try to go past this. And from that perspective, we would like to keep doing the work of the kingdom here and see more churches planted and We need men. We need people willing to preach the word, and so that's something that we really need. There's a thirst, a need, and a thirst for the word here. So that's also something that we would like the brothers and sisters to be in prayer too.
Wonderful. Is there one person that you could mention to us that has really, that you kind of stands out in your mind? Maybe a story you could tell us about a person that's been affected by the gospel through the ministry there in Ecuador.
Yes, I have a couple, but I was thinking of someone else. But
tell us two, if you want to tell us two.
Yeah, I'll
that's
tell
fine.
you two. Yeah, there's a little. She's a little girl in age and in size, really. And I say this with a lot of love to that dear sister. She just came to our basic course. Someone invited her with her husband, very young couple, kind of the artist type, kind of postmodern artist type.
Yep.
Tattoos and the whole thing.
Okay.
And in the beginning, I was, it's not the typical type you expect, and but they joined. I didn't ask many questions because I didn't want, to make them feel uncomfortable unnecessarily.
Yep.
So we just kept going. We kept going, and we started to have a very good, friendship, and we got to know each other, and it was very nice. I concentrated on teaching the Word of God, and the gospel. And the course lasts 15 weeks. And the course was over, and then I decided to ask them, well, and so what's your story, and you know what she told me? She said, I've been struggling a lot with depression and some strange ideas and some things. She was in a very bad place, let's say, or she had been.
Yeah.
And then she said, and I've been deeply touched with the gospel and with who Jesus really is. And she was involved in feminism. She was involved in all these isms and all these things. And eventually she really understood that Jesus is the only Lord of everything and the only one that can really satisfy her longings and needs. That was very, very moving. I got very, very emotional because of that, and that's a great story.
That's amazing.
They finished the course. They did the membership course. They of course are waiting and trying to. I always tell them, take your time. Think about what it means to be a member of the church and all these things, and make a conscious decision. Still you're welcome and come, and everything is fine, but you need to understand what it implies to be a member of the church. So they are in that place right now, but her witness or her testimony was that her life had been changed by the gospel, and so that's very, very, very excited because that's the power of the Holy Spirit and of the cross, and the resurrection.
Absolutely.
So
that's a great story. Thank you.
Yeah, that's one. And the other one, very quickly, is someone I know for a long, long time. I met him when I was in high school. I was attending an academy in order to learn English, I wanted to be an exchange student during high school, which I was very, very long, a long time ago.
Yep.
Anyway, so I met him there, and he used to attend a very, very strong Roman Catholic school here, very well known, a Jesuit high school.
Okay.
You know, if you know, if there's any group from the Roman Catholic persuasion, you know, that is not comfortable with Protestantism, is them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
His family, very strong Roman Catholics, very strong.
Yeah.
As we said, and I think it's important important for brothers and sisters in North America to know, Latin American Roman Catholicism is very different than the expression in U.S. and maybe even Canada. You know, here it's very secular, not Bible oriented at all. So anyway, having said that, this guy, I met him back then. Then we met again in college. We became friends. Then we ended up seeing each other when I was in high school, in working for a bank, even before I decided to go to seminary. And so I decided, well, not decided, but I was just witnessing to him while we were working together in this bank. And eventually he came to the faith. What's interesting about this story is that for him, it's been very tough. I mean, friends, family, the whole circle were very, very, very hostile to his new faith. But it's been amazing. I mean, for years, he's been very faithful, and he's very humbly, you know, just he's been hearing all these things, and you know, people mocking at him. He once shared, you know, he told me once that his uncle would tell him, "Hey, how's the sect doing?" You know, things like that.
Yeah.
But he always responded with love, you know, and respect. And it's very, to me, it's very interesting, the strength that the Lord gave to this brother. So even when his father passed away, you know, I had this huge issue with going or not to the funeral, because it was a Roman Catholic funeral. All these things that we have to, you know, think about. And anyway, I just stayed behind. And of course, it was his father. He had to be there, and he was there. And but after the mass, really, the priest allowed him to speak, and this guy starts preaching the gospel from the pulpit.
Wow.
You know, to this whole church. So that was very, very interesting. And you know, he of course spoke highly of his father, and he loved his father, but he said, we didn't agree on this because the Bible teaches this, and I want you to know what I believe. So those have been very moving, you know, points in our experience here, you know.
Well, thank you so much, Pablo. This has been great. We continue to pray for you. I know all of our churches are praying for you, and know that. Please let the brothers and sisters know that also in the church.
I will. Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah.
Take care.
Have a good day. You too.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.